Hello and welcome to TNC Talks Nonprofit. I'm Scott.
I'm Mercedes.
And before we launch into our guest today, I'd like to thank our sponsor, Methodist Healthcare Ministries, for jumping in and sponsoring this series throughout the year. We thank you very much. And with that, I'm going to have Mercedes get into our guest intro.
Today we have Rebecca Helterbrand with Respite Care of San Antonio. Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So glad you're here today. Before we launch into your story and how you got to leading Respite Care, tell us a little bit about what you do, what your organization does in our community.
So Respite Care of San Antonio has been working for nearly 40 years to help children with special needs and complex medical conditions. We provide everything from an emergency shelter for children who've been removed from their homes due to abuse or neglect, and we're the only licensed shelter that does that work in the whole state of Texas.
Oh, wow.
We also offer, on the prevention side, a full-time, multi-week early childhood education center that's highly regarded. And then we have a day out, night out, weekend out, and even camps when schools are not in session, all designed to help parents to relieve the stressors of caregiving, but also provide on-site medical services and now mental health services.
Oh, very nice. So that's new?
That part's new.
That's the new stuff you're talking about?
Some of it.
I didn't know that you guys were an emergency shelter. I don't know why I didn't realize that.
Yeah, we have kiddos. We had a kiddo that lived with us for 8 years. But most children are staying with us for roughly 120 days. That time can be very variable depending on the Department of Family and Protective Services and that child's next step. But we're really known for taking in that child with special needs or complex medical needs and their siblings.
Because that's the primary... that's your primary focus for the shelter, correct? Or can
it's the biggest budget line item, and it's 24/7. So it's multiple
medical
shifts,
care.
And it's medical care. It's all the wraparound services. It's advocating for their education within the school system because they're living with us. We become basically their guardian.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's a beautiful program, but it also informs the prevention work that we do because we see the other side of it. We see what happens when a child's been removed and the healing that needs to occur.
Right.
So the Early Childhood Learning Center and the day out, night out, weekend out, and camps really inform how we work with families because we don't want their children to be removed.
Right.
And where do you host the camp, or who hosts the camp? Is it on your property, or do you
we're so blessed because there's these beautiful homes in historic Monte Vista that have been donated to Respite Care well before I got there.
Yeah.
So it's our responsibility just to maintain the homes and have the upkeep. But I often think about a little pulling up with a caseworker from the state. They've been removed from their homes, and I always hope that what they see is this beautiful home, this incredibly expansive playground with accessible equipment, and just be able to take that full, deep breath that maybe it's going to be okay.
Oh, it's really sweet.
And we also have a partnership with Christ Episcopal Church. It's kind of catty corner to all of our houses.
Yes.
And that's where we have 7 classrooms in our Early Childhood Learning Center. And part of what we've been able to do is lots of partnerships. So we're at having camps and day out programs at Any Baby Can in partnership with them. And we're also in partnership with Baptist Temple Church on the east side. So we're having a day out and weekend out programs there as well.
Right.
So
do y'all go to Morgan's Wonderland with the kiddos, or
for field trips? Absolutely. Yeah. The kids living in our homes have a full slate of summer festivities. So Morgan's Wonderland, the zoo, all the usual suspects you would imagine. But they also get to go to Camp Aranzazu and go to sleepaway camp, and our caregivers go with them and sleep in those cabins as well. So
I bet they love that.
I was going to say, I've never heard of it.
Yeah, and it's designed in particular for our kiddos because, it's accessible, but it also allows our caregivers to remain in the cabin with the child. Because if they're living with us, we are responsible for that child. We can't just send them away to sleepaway camp and hope it all works.
Right. Well, that makes sense. How many kids do you guys have living with you at any given time?
So we're licensed for 30, and we stay pretty consistently at 26.
Okay.
And it's harder to get to that 30 number just because, like, right now I might have a teenage girl bed available and an infant a crib available.
Oh, okay.
So we're always trying to make sure that we're also getting sibling groups
Mhm.
because we think kids are able to heal. If they've got siblings, we'd like them all
stay
to be
together.
together.
Right.
So
So how many houses do you guys have? Or is it like this house is for this age group, this house is for this age group?
yeah, so the 2 emergency shelter homes, we've got a house for the littles,
Mhm.
and then we have a house for the bigs.
Okay.
And so the Davidson Respite House is for our littles, and the Najum Family Respite House is
Oh.
for the bigs.
Okay.
And each of our historic homes, almost all of them have very expansive carriage homes behind them.
Okay.
So we make use of that space too. So we've got our HEB house for day out, night out, weekend out, and camps. And then there's a carriage house behind it that when camp's happening, we move day out behind it. The Najum home has a carriage house behind it, and that's where we've converted that into our mental health center. And so that's a 2-story building behind a 3-story building.
Oh, wow.
And even our administration building is 2 stories. It's behind the Davidson
So it's in a
Respite
carriage house.
Yes.
How cool.
And then the 7 classrooms at Christ Episcopal.
we need to
So,
come visit.
I know.
Yeah.
I was
Lots
there
of childhood
years
joy.
ago, but it's been a while.
Sometimes I get people who ask me, isn't the work really emotionally draining, especially because of the shelter side of the programs? And I'm here to tell you there's so much childhood joy. My office sort of like overlooks the playground, so I get to hear all the laughter. And, there's so much joy in seeing kids do well.
Right.
So it's not, it's a
Yeah.
place of beauty and hope
Yeah.
and restoration.
We're going to schedule a visit with you.
Please do.
So now with the juicy part. Ooh. How did you get to leading respite care? Because like we've said in all these different episodes, it's, I think most people don't wake up and say, I want to run a nonprofit someday, or as a young person, that's not really on your radar. So what was your background what were you hoping to be when you were a young person? What were you thinking you were going to be doing? What kind of work have you done leading up to this point?
And don't say this is exactly what I was thinking. Is running respite care. Okay.
No, it was not on the bingo card. I mean, there'll be a lot of times I'll be driving home and telling my husband before I get home, like, guess what wasn't on my bingo card today?
I might steal that.
Because it's always interesting, right?
Yeah.
So no, this was never the plan. And it's almost funny now because you think you have a plan, but you're not in control. And I'm a person of faith and not necessarily religious. But from a faith perspective, I do believe there's a plan and steps are revealed. And sometimes you take the right steps and sometimes you fall off a step in the process and you learn. But I grew up in a really small town, Mason, Texas. It's in the hill country. I used to say population 2,500 and declining, but that's actually true now. So I want to be careful about that.
It's a theme
foreshadowing.
today, small towns.
Yeah. And I just... I want to give a lot of grace here because my mom's been passed for like 17 years now. Dad is still with us. But they had to overcome a lot of generational curses, so to speak.
Yeah.
And neither of my parents were able to graduate from high school. So the idea of a small town kiddo in a really poor rural area, dreaming of that's what's happened. No, not on the bingo card. All I knew is that honestly, the only burning desire I had was not to be poor.
Aww.
And I didn't know what that would look like. I just didn't want that.
Yeah.
Because it was so painful.
Was the whole community, everyone struggle? I mean,
it was very much, there was very much some of the haves and have-nots. You had people that had settled there for generations and had land. And even they are struggling because a lot of them are selling off part of their land, but they had something.
Yeah.
So if you didn't have that, you were in the have-nots. But here's what I want people to hear about small town America. Whatever challenges there was also a village of people that believed in you. So, the Friday night lights were real. People rallied. We had something called the Puncher Dome.
Oh, dear.
It's not like Mad
Okay.
Max.
Okay.
Maybe if you were playing football, it felt like Mad Max. But, the town really rallied around their young people. And I had people who helped me, like my boss that I worked on Saturday at Hoffman's Dry Goods. He helped me fill out my scholarship applications.
Oh,
And,
wow.
he helped me
Yeah.
figure out a path because he thought he saw something that could be more than what Mason could offer. So when I got a full scholarship, I actually got a couple, but one of them would pay for the dorm room, and I needed it. And so I went out to college, but when I got there, I realized books were kind of expensive, and I couldn't even afford the books. So the little, the gentleman that hired me all throughout high school, I was called a Hoffman girl because I worked at Hoffman's Dry Goods. He helped pay for my books every semester.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
What an
So,
angel.
the idea that, you can bootstrap things and I'm here to tell you, some people don't have the leather for the boot.
Right.
They don't have the strap.
Mhm.
I had people that they really cared, and that made all the difference. So there's nothing that, if you have success in life on any level, you had it because of policy, because of people, because of infrastructure supports that helped. And it's not lost on me that I'm Caucasian. And some of those supports were probably more easily accessed than maybe my counterparts that were left behind in Mason.
Right.
So, yeah. So went
Were
to
your
college.
parents
And
supportive of you leaving? Or?
yes. I think they wanted, like most parents do, they want more for their kiddo, even if they didn't know how to help me navigate.
Right.
Like, a really crazy story is I had driven ranch trucks, but my parents gave me their only car to go to college. And they were left with this beat up ranch truck. And I got on the highway for the first time to go to school in El Paso. So they kept saying, exit whatever. I didn't know what exit whatever was, so I ended up at Fort Bliss. I mean, it's just, how did this kid make it, And it's because of a lot of support, a lot of support.
Right.
So college, and then, I also wanted to go far enough away from home that I didn't fall trapped to a lot of what a lot of my cohorts would do. They would go off to college, but they would come home every weekend. They never created, sort of a life
there.
outside
Some
of
separation.
Mason.
Mhm.
And I knew if I went all the way to El Paso, I didn't even have the gas money to get home. So
Right.
once I went, I was going to be there. And so after a couple of years, knew I could make it in college. Even that was like, how does this even work?
Yeah.
Right.
If you've never even stepped on a college campus,
So did you go there sight unseen? Like you had
sight unseen.
Oh, wow.
Never had been
You
on a
just
highway.
got the scholarship and you're like, I'm going.
You're like, I'm out of here.
I'd never driven on a highway. My parents
Oh
would
my
take
gosh.
me places, but yeah, it was crazy.
That's wild.
Crazy to think about all that. But after a few years, I was able to get my scholarship transferred over to UTSA because, the truth be told, I was a mama's girl. To this day, I miss her so much. So I wanted to be closer to her, and I knew I could finish out and not go home and kind of fall prey to, whatever was not good for me.
Right.
And then graduated, and pretty much right out of college got this amazing opportunity to work at a for-profit organization that was based here in San Antonio.
You're not spilling the tea, are you?
I'll say it because that name doesn't even exist anymore. Clark American.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and you would be amazed at how many people that came from
there.
that environment. Nino, lots of folks. Lots of folks. I run into them all the time. And the CEO of that organization is someone that I count as like that gentleman that hired me from Hoffman's Dry Goods.
Yeah.
The gentleman that ran Clark American is still very close to me. I still get emails from him. I just have such a tender spot for him because he created the most amazing culture that I'm constantly trying to recreate.
Oh,
it was
nice.
Such an amazing culture.
In what way?
Well, he was focused on excellence and what that could look like. Closed loop processes, caring about the customer. He called it the triple win, where everybody wins, the customer wins, the supplier wins, the client, we win.
Yeah.
So many interesting concepts that I had never been exposed to before.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what he saw in me, similar to like Jack Hoffman with Hoffman's Dry Goods.
Yeah.
But he invested in me. He let me go to a Stanford class and live on the dorms for sea levels. And I wasn't even a sea level, with people from around the world. I mean, it was just the coolest experience to be.
Were you nervous, or were you just like...
imposter syndrome big time. Like, what am I doing here? Like, I'm this freaking kid from Mason, Texas. What am I doing here?
And what was your position when they hired you?
So I got hired as a secretary. A friend of mine said, there's an opening. You may feel like you've got a degree. Why would you do this? But there's so much growth opportunity if you will just come in.
Get your foot in the door.
So started as a secretary and did the hard thing and just kept rising until by the time I left, I was not at the senior leadership level, but I was more mid-level director of business products. It was a $400 million product line. You're basically responsible for the P&L, and the profit of that product line really drove the profit of the organization.
Yeah.
So
Sounds
to
important.
think about starting as a secretary and then
working your way up.
Yeah, what a great experience. But it also exposed me to what excellence looks like, and a culture, and how important culture is. And
especially
again,
in the for-profit world, because a lot of times you don't get that.
Right. A lot of times it's just about the bottom line.
Yeah. Well, interesting you say that, because right around the time I was looking at the organization and thinking, as much as I love it here, we're printing checks. And I'm investing a lot of time in profit. And what if I invested that time in a different way?
Mm-hmm.
And for me, another critical point was Charles Corbell, who was the CEO of Clark American, was leaving the organization. So felt like the culture was going to change.
I see.
Felt like, if you're going to work this hard and this smart, could you do this in a way that created a different kind of impact? So Scott knows a little bit about the next step, but I was looking at the nonprofit ecosystem, and I thought I've learned a lot about excellence, in particular something called the Malcolm Baldrige Performance Excellence Process.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, if I go to nonprofit, I probably ought to go to an organization that is really process driven, because I'm afraid I'll go in and just everybody will hate me because you're trying to like instill a culture that's different. And maybe I dip my toe in the nonprofit sector in an organization that perhaps is more on the process side.
Mm-hmm.
So in my view, that was Goodwill Industries of San Antonio.
Okay.
And they do incredible work, and they've grown so much since I've been there that I don't even really recognize the organization. So I'm going to talk about a time, a long time ago, where they had deep business processes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they were still figuring out some of that. How do they give back to the community piece, which I think they've really solved.
Mm-hmm.
So went there and helped them to get on the journey to the Quality Texas, which is the state level version of Malcolm Baldrige at the national level, and started doing things like in my degree plan, marketing and communications, and a little bit of fundraising, but not a lot.
Had you been volunteering with nonprofits? Like, how did nonprofits get on your radar to begin with? Just,
I think if I think back on it, I don't think it was conscious at the time. It was maybe subconscious. How does
back to that plan?
A little girl from Mason, Texas, that's somehow doing a little better and is not poverty stricken? How do you give back?
Okay.
And I'm not sure I consciously knew that at the time.
So you were sort of driven or drifted there.
Yeah. I think, there's that quote around scripture, too much is given, much is expected, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely think I was leaning that direction, even if I wasn't conscious of it.
Okay.
I was willing to work really hard. You put me in a group of people, I'm gonna outwork.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna do the thing. Whatever it is, I'm going to get it done. But if you're gonna work that hard, can you do something that feeds the soul at the same time? So from Goodwill, then went on a journey down the mental health sector. learned a lot there. And that's where, creating a plan is ridiculous because I did have a plan. I was like, well, I'm going to go do this, and then this is going to happen, and then that's going to happen. And then every time you planned, something would just blow up in your face, and it would cause you a lot of soul searching. And I'm now infinitely grateful for every time things sort of blew up. I wasn't at the time.
You never are.
But I think of it now as this tapestry, and you don't know what it's going to reveal, what image is going to be revealed. But the thread that got pulled during those difficult moments, that thread got pulled and you didn't like that thread. But, wait months or years later and you can sort of like see the design that's been created that eventually led me to Respite Care of San Antonio. And if you had asked me, did you engineer this? Did you plan for this? Absolutely not. Because again, every time I thought I had a plan, it would blow up and it would be, again, a very deep soul-searching moment, just trying to figure life out. But I also think it's really humbled me in the process because I've seen what darkness looks like and what difficult times look like, even when you've overcome poverty. So I have a real heart for our kids, our families, and the work that we do at Respite Care.
So I guess back when you were working in the mental health space, so that I guess that really influenced you starting a program at Respite Care?
So when I was working in mental health, again, I just thought this is where I'm supposed to be. The steps have been revealed. I'm supposed to be here making a difference. And I was working at, over the course, I think it was like basically 2 nonprofits. And I would work to do the work there, but also the systems work. And the more I did the systems work, the more I've sort of got like swatted down. But I knew that you can't just do the work at a nonprofit. You have to invest in the systemic changes. Otherwise, great nonprofit, but terrible system.
Right.
So the more I tried to migrate into system work, the more it just felt like swatting you down, teaching you some lessons about power and dynamics. So I again learned so much from that, and really got to a point where I was like, I am done. I am done. You've taught me not to dream as big as I thought I should. And in that process of sort of like retracting and saying, don't dream as big, I got a call about Respite Care. And they were just at the time looking for an interim CEO position to help them figure out a few things. And
I sort of remember that because how long you've been there for
3 years.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been there 3 years. And that call came from another person who has believed in me for years. And I'm going to shout her out, Barbara Gentry. So Barbara was the one who said, they're looking for someone. I think this would be
a good fit for you.
And I didn't view it as long term. I viewed it as going in, helping them solve a couple of problems, and then exiting stage left. In fact, when we created the contract for me to work with Respite Care, it basically said, you cannot hire me because I was going to be doing an organizational assessment. And I viewed it as a conflict of interest to go into the job thinking it's yours. I really wanted to be true to the mission and to that board that had hired me to do that work, that we're in this together to figure out what needs to be changed or considered, or what are all the options available to Respite Care for its future. And there were a lot of options, but I didn't want to view it as creating
sliding in there.
Yeah. It just felt disingenuous to me.
Right. I understand that completely.
So in the process, we definitely, the board and I as a consultant with the board leadership, we were exploring several things that could happen with Respite Care's future. And as we explored that, it kept sort of narrowing to one path. And in that process, I think it was 90 days in, maybe 100 days in, they said, well, maybe we talk to you about staying. And that's, I did the whole time out. Here's the contract. We can't do this. And so
But at what point did you realize that that's what you wanted to do, or maybe that was the
I
right?
would not let myself even think about it.
Really?
I didn't want to think about it because I didn't want to fall in love with something that,
Wasn't
yeah,
attainable.
yeah. So fended off those early discussions because we had a report to write and we had decisions to make as a board, not me, the board.
Mm-hmm.
And so the board chair at the time, a gentleman named Steve York, he said, well, then write the report.
Get
Write the report,
Yep.
Rebecca. So we wrote the report. We met with the board. We talked about options. And, again, these little angels in your life that whisper on your shoulder. Steve then approached me again and said, we'd really like you to stay. And I did the Rebecca thing. Like, I don't dream that big anymore. Thank you. My contract's ending. Wish you well. And, he said something to me that was really profound. He said, you keep saying no. I'm asking the wrong question. What would it take for you to say yes?
Oh, wow.
I went home, talked to
You
that
could
great.
dream big.
I got goosebumps.
I know. I went home and I got really emotional with my husband and I said, he's letting me dream. He's letting me dream.
So that was
So,
the question
Yeah.
that
So you could dream. All those moments where life sort of just like kicked you to the curb, you could sort of step back and say, oh no, we can dream. We can dream. And I've never worked harder in my life, and I've had some tough gigs. I've never worked harder in my life than I'm working at Respite Care, and I'm loving every
Yeah.
minute of it. And I see all the goodness, and I get to do the work at Respite Care with an amazing team and board, and I get to do systems work, which I know will benefit children and families for years to come.
Right.
So it's such a blessing.
Because you do need the system. You need to have the right systems in place to be successful.
Yeah, you can be a great nonprofit,
Mhm.
Yeah.
but if you work within a system that's fractured, how good is it?
Right.
So, yeah.
So how long are you be there forever?
Who knows what the future
Yeah.
holds? But the thing is that, I never envisioned myself being in this ecosystem. I gave up on the dream of leading an organization and creating a culture. I get to do all of that and in partnership with amazing people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I cannot tell you how wonderful the senior leadership team is at Respite Care and the employees that work so hard, the team members that give of themselves every single day. I think about Charles Corbell and what he created at Clark American and that culture.
Mm-hmm.
And I see it. I see
Yeah.
those snippets, and it's an ever evolving journey. So it's not there,
Right.
but it's on its way.
And clearly you have a great supportive board.
Oh, it's a wonderful board.
That's
A
important.
wonderful board. Yeah. Lauren Valkanar is our board chair now. Her term is about to end, and then we'll get Chris Derby. You name it. We've just got amazing
Yeah.
people that are giving of their time, talent, treasure. They guide us every step of the way, and it's a great organization.
And I think we first met when you were at Goodwill, because the council used to have our meetings there
Yeah.
every month.
That was more than 2 decades ago, Scott.
Y'all been friends for that long?
Yeah, we've
Aw.
known
It
each
was a
other
while.
that long.
That's amazing.
As I say, I'm not a whippersnapper.
Same here.
I love the good whippersnapper.
But seeing you through the journey and never
Giving up.
got to work, though, closely with you.
Yeah.
And having you as a member has been really kind of special,
Aw.
because we get to know some of our members and those that participate, and you're on the advocacy committee. And I think that, just gives that a little bit more touch together.
Yeah, I definitely enjoy the work of the advocacy committee, and we really enjoy being a member. What the Nonprofit Council does is really coalesce the nonprofit ecosystem. You don't just provide resources and thought leadership, but you bring us together in really profound ways. Everything from simple things like the gaggle threads, to complex. Like,
Yeah.
you just hosted a learning session on reduction in force, and you're hosting sessions on mergers and,
Yeah.
important topics,
That
what's
come
happening.
from you all. I mean,
Yes.
again, that is the beauty of our work, is we hear it, what the need is and what the members want to see and talk about.
Yeah, a very responsive organization, and I know that it's the two of y'all. So when I think about the value you bring as as we say in the nonprofit world, 2 FTEs, it's pretty profound. It's pretty profound, and we're standing here, right next to the big give, step and repeat, banner, and that's a blessing to the nonprofit community as well.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So way to go.
It's a passion that we have, and we like to have fun. So the big give is all about
gotta
it.
laugh.
Is.
Yes.
You gotta laugh.
Gotta laugh or hit your damn it doll. It's one or the other. Well, it was such a pleasure hearing your story, and it's very motivational and inspiring to hear things that you've gleaned from other really top-notch leaders that you've come across, and even someone at a little feed store or dry goods store in Mason, Texas, who impacted you so much. And do you go back home very often, or?
Dad still lives there, so we're going home a little more often than normal, just because he's in that aging process where we're trying to make sure he's okay. But yeah, it's really funny driving into town because I'm not Rebecca Helterbrand there. I'm Becky.
Ah,
Oh my gosh.
We got to say it with an accent. I'm Becky. And so, like, small town things, like I'll pull up to the square and park, and then you just instinctively lock your car, and then heads will swivel like, why are you locking your car, Becky? So
you're not in the big city anymore.
Yeah, you're fine. So yeah, I love seeing Dad. I love seeing his journey and where he's at in life, and and going home. But it's definitely a different experience because I'm not Rebecca Helterbrand there.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a little humbling.
Becky. Always.
Try not to call you Becky now.
I know. I was going to be like, I'm going to have like Tourette syndrome saying it.
It's only with the accent that I actually respond.
Okay.
Okay. I don't know if I have that down, so I guess you don't have to worry about that.
Then I'm like, it's either family or Mason. Like, who is that? Yeah.
That's funny. Well, thanks for being on our episode.
Yeah,
it was really
thanks
nice
for
to
sharing.
hear.
Thank you. What an honor. Thank you both.
Yeah,
Well,
of course.
Until next time, thank you to Methodist Healthcare Ministries for supporting our series, and have a nice one.